Stay with me as we expand our knowledge with videos from all over the internet that's going to make you question reality. Let's just start.
Whenever you like somebody too much, an emotional bond is set up between you and the person you like too much. Sometimes they can do...
Here's something they don't teach you when you're a kid. You're going to have to start your life over at some point. Every single adult I know has had to do this at least once with their career or their marriage or their social circle or everything. Right now, social media is full of people who have lost their jobs or had their careers altered by the new president, or found out that they're about to be replaced by AI. Right now, a woman somewhere just found out that her husband has children with another woman, or a guy has found out that his wife has a terminal illness. You can get hyper-focused on the specifics of any of these stories and what went wrong and hoping that it doesn't happen to you, but here's the thing, some version of it almost certainly will. Everything you have in life, including the bad stuff, is just a sandcastle, and in the background is always the tide. If you are watching this and have had to start over in your life, reply with your story, because when it happens to somebody for the first time, it feels like death. It feels impossible. Because sometimes it's not just about having to train yourself for a different career, or move to a different city, or find a different partner. Sometimes it involves you finding out that you are not who you thought you were. If you kids out there want to laugh, the thing I went to college for was broadcast radio, because the World Wide Web had not yet been invented when I was in college. I lasted all of 2 years in the career that I had trained for, then I had to borrow to train myself for something else, and then failed at that. I then retrained myself again and got a job that I held for 13 years and built up a multi-million-dollar business, only to have the entire industry evaporate. And now I'm on here, and I'm convinced that these days, with the way the world is, as quickly as things change, that this is the most valuable skill, just being able to weather starting over again and again. And the key is that sometimes I've had to start over because the world changed or the circumstances changed, but other times it turned out I was just wrong about who I was and what I could do. People think I'm joking when I say that a personal hero of mine is the guy who started KFC, Colonel Sanders, because it is a real person. It's not just like a mascot. Because if you go look up his story on Wikipedia, he started this restaurant at age 68. He was basically living out of his car at the time. Prior to that, he just bounced from job to job, from career to career, starting over again and again. And you don't realize how impressive it is until you've had to go through it, because I'm telling you, it's awful.
Possessions don't always look like this. One of the most common ones is narcissism. Narcissists are souls like you and I who are depolarized and got taken over by negative entities. Let me explain. Narcissists are created in a household where their needs are neglected by their caregivers, who they depended on for survival. When this happened, the child subconsciously feels because nobody cares about their needs, they must survive by detaching themselves from people and only concerning themselves with their own interests. This puts them out of balance and into the extreme of the masculine energy, neglecting their feminine energy, which is the connection to the collective, empathy, their emotions, their internal world, their spirit, etc. They end up centering themselves and depending solely on their external world and masculine energy. This builds an unhealthy self-concept that impedes real self-love, which is what allows connection to their soul. Their version of self-love is to put themselves above everybody else to meet their needs for survival. But this is really because subconsciously they don't believe they are worthy of love or their needs being met. This puts them subconsciously in the vibration of shame, the lowest vibration. And anybody in a low vibration is susceptible to entities coming to latch off of that vibration, who feed off of it and further throw the person into a deeper narcissistic delusion. These entities cannot be cleansed away. Low vibrations are what feeds them, so the only way to get rid of them is to work on the shame wound. But this requires huge awareness and willpower, which most narcissists we know are not really willing to admit they need help. But what are your thoughts on narcissists?
The conversation that me and you are about to have will shift your perspective in a way that will make you so fearless that you actually feel like a psychopath. First of all, what is fear? Fear is your mind anticipating an unideal outcome. That's all it is. So when you go into a job interview, or you're going to give a presentation in front of a group of people, or you're thinking about approaching someone that you find attractive, what happens? You become nervous, you start to sweat, your throat becomes dry, and those voices begin whispering to you, trying to convince you to back out. That fear that you are experiencing is your subconscious mind saying, what if we don't know the answer to a question? Or what if I stutter in the middle of my presentation? Or what if she thinks I'm weird and says no? But I want to make something very, very clear. Fear is not the problem. Perspective is your problem. The reason it's important to come to that realization is because if you spend all of your time confronting fear itself, you will be doing nothing but wasting your own time. Therefore, we must go to the source, the roots which have blossomed this flower of fear, and rip them out. So how do we do this? We must be accepting. Again, if the fear that you are experiencing is derived from anticipation of an unideal outcome, we must shift our perspective so that any outcome is ideal. But what if I genuinely do not want to experience a certain outcome? And that's a fair question, right? Like, no one wants to experience rejection, and no one wants to fumble a job interview. But that is assuming that you know what's best for you. You don't. God knows what's best for you. Your Creator. The being that put you here on this earth to fulfill a specific purpose for a specific reason. The being that crafted you, your life, your soul, into a sacred masterpiece. He knows what's best for you. Therefore, we must trust that God is guiding us down the path that will lead us where we are meant to be. So sure, you may butcher the interview, but it turns out that you got hired at an even better company that pays you more 3 months later. Sure, he or she may reject you, but it turns out you met your soulmate the following week. You see, the outcome doesn't make a difference to us. We make sure that we are the best we can be, so that when we show up to the interview, or give the presentation, approach the girl, take the risk, we've done our part, and the rest is in God's hands. And let me tell you something, there's no one else I'd rather it be up to.
Cheaters don't change. 9 times out of 10, cheaters do not change. And here are the psychological reasons why. These two people are in a relationship, and this person has an inner void. Their self-esteem is lower, so they don't really like, value, or validate themselves from within. Now, maybe 5 or 10 years into this marriage or relationship, there is perhaps a lack of intimacy, passion or fun, excitement, and validation. Their inner void is now wanting that validation. They want to be desired, defined, and valued externally. And so they have an opportunity to go outside of the relationship and cheat, okay? This person finds out about the affair, but they take them back. So time moves on, and they're still in this relationship. This is an issue because not only is it, number one, they've taken them back, this means that this person subconsciously will now take this person for granted. He or she has forgiven me, so deep down I know that means I can repeat it again. So not only is there an integrity issue regarding lying, there's a disrespect issue in that I've taken that person back. But the main issue is this inner void, because inner voids do not get healed within a relationship. This person's inner self-esteem is not getting healed via them. It's not getting healed via their partner. It needs to get healed via time alone. Inner validation comes from time alone. And so really, if somebody cheats, true change comes from loss. You have to
Please do not bypass your own pain by trying to force yourself to make peace with the fact that somebody decided you weren't important enough. You don't have to do that. You don't have to fight with, or educate, or explain to, or reason with anybody who has made it clear that your existence and your humanity is unimportant to them.
If you treated your partner the exact same way that they treat you, what would happen? What if you simply matched their energy relationally? You put in the same amount of effort and intentionality that they do. Or how about this one? What if you resolved conflict the same way that they do? What if you interrupted them, talked down to them, raised your voice to them, invalidated their experience? What would happen? My guess? Everything would fall apart, right? Which means the only thing that's holding all this up is us abandoning ourselves. And I don't say all that to make you feel bad. I just need to lovingly remind you that relationships are all about equality and mutual respect. You cannot thrive or even feel safe when there is a power imbalance. And if you can't speak to your partner the same way that they speak to you without fear of how that would end, There is a clear power imbalance. And I get it that all this stuff can be confusing, but what's not confusing is that love is considerate and intentional. And yes, different people show that in different ways, but one of those ways is never self-centeredness or aggression or dominating behavior. That's not love. You deserve a relationship where you feel safe. You deserve a relationship where you can be honest. One where your partner sees you as an equal. There's no power imbalance because no one wants to dominate the other person. You both respect and love and serve each other. And I know for so many people, that type of love feels like it's asking for too much, but it's not. It's actually the bare minimum.
People who go through the deepest pits of hell and back and still choose to be kind to other human beings, who raised y'all? Because whoever did needs a huge applause.
So go back and watch that creator's original video. I'll tag her below here. We raised ourselves. The deep, dark pits of hell was the childhood where we were completely misunderstood, especially for my ADHD people. They didn't know what to do with us. They didn't know how to handle us. They didn't know how to deal with us. They didn't know how to guide us and help us to understand ourselves because they didn't understand themselves and they did not understand us at all. We were the ones sitting in a corner trying to figure out what we did wrong and how we could fix it and how we could help other people. We had no idea what was going on in here because we were so shut down with all of the emotional trauma and the damage and the PTSD from being treated like an outsider our entire lives that we then turned around and tried to help other people not feel so alone. We were the ones who made human behavior and psychology and being a therapist our entire personality because we never wanted people to feel like we did our entire lives. We went through absolute hell, the deepest, darkest pits of hell in darkness and in the void, and came out of it with hearts of gold and a perspective on the world that no other childhood could give you. Those of us who have scraped and clawed and scratched our way to a place of some semblance of mental stability and a place of kindness.
It's so scary how a person could literally be in your face, like smiling, like they like you. Deep down inside, in their head, they hate you, they don't like you, you think you all you irritate their guts, and you think you better than everybody. The stories they come up about you in their head, but they still portray this image. Like they mess with you? Bruh, can't nobody be trusted. Like, I don't play them fake games. Like, that's exactly why. That is exactly why I keep my circle to a minimum.
It takes a different level of strong for you to say no and to actually wait for what you deserve instead of settling for anything just to say you have something. Even if that means you're going to be alone and be by yourself for years, and you sit back and you wait on that person that you know you deserves. You wait for that person who can't wait to talk to you, who can't wait to see you, who can't wait to spend time with you, who's been waiting to love you correctly. It's a different level, and people don't give enough credit to those individuals who are single for a while.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger is one of our favorite cultural myths, and it's also not true. We have a long-standing cultural myth that trauma can lead towards more resilience. And in the past, especially 10 years or so, we've been challenging that myth. And what we're finding over and over in multiple studies is that it seems like the opposite is true. But the question is, what do we do with this information? Do we tell people after something terrible happens to them that their brain has been altered in ways that cannot be undone and they will carry this for the rest of their lives? Do we tell people that? Or we tell them the story that this will make them stronger? Here's my argument, but I really could be wrong on this one, so let me know in the comments. But my thought is, whenever we have a story that makes us feel better, it makes us feel better that our trauma has made us kinder people, better people, more resilient people. It's a story. It's a story that we tell about our pain that sometimes actually really does help people. But whenever we turn to a story that makes us feel better, even when the story isn't true, I do feel like we pay a cost. And the cost is always that we spend less time fixing reality because we cling to our stories. If we let go of our stories about the afterlife, would it be hard? Yes, but would it also encourage us to actually make life on earth worth living? Mm-hmm. If we let go of our story that what doesn't kill us make us stronger, and actually sometimes trauma and suffering changes our lives and our mental health and our brains in ways that were never the same, will that be hard? Yes. But also, would we punish things differently if we actually looked at the long-term effects of what trauma does to people? Would there be harsher sentences for abusers? Would there be more social workers? Would we be more mindful about how and in what circumstances we bring children into the world? So it's this difficult place where stories really can help us contextualize suffering, but also sometimes our stories keep us from actually systemically changing the things that cause suffering in the first place. What do you think?
The biggest green flag that you're about to quantum leap your income. And this has nothing to do with your current bank account. In fact, you could literally be in so much debt and still have this work. Okay, tea time. The biggest marker of transformation when it comes to finances and abundance is an internal one. That means you actually create abundance mentally before you see it show up in your 3D reality. According to neuroscience, when you no longer identify as a broke person, your reticular activating system will be hardwired for success. Meaning you will no longer be seeking for evidence that you're a failure. You will no longer be saying things like, I can't afford this. And you'll stop believing that money is hard to come by. And you'll enter what is called the knowing state. This happens when your body and your mind are synced up with wealth consciousness. When you have successfully reprogrammed lack out of your reality and you're making big, bold moves as the version of you who's already rich as fuck. Money will literally become the easiest thing for you to manifest. So if you're emotionally transforming and you're feeling unbothered by the lack in your current circumstances, get ready because that is the number one sign that you're about to quantum fucking leap your income.
Purpose.
And we've come to the end. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also share with your friends, and also click on the notification bell icon so that any video that I post, you will be the first to get it. Adios amigos, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.